look after yourself, eat well, all that boring stuff, because around the corner is a rainbow, and you can't even think about it at this minute. But you're a lovely woman. Surely you're worth your own happiness. Like I said, that stupid advert about hair shampoo. You know what they say? Because I'm worth it, like that. And I mean, you've got to get to the stage where you can say, I don't know, a lot of us might be able to say, it's not always peachy, is it? But I've got somebody who loves me, who worships me, who's fantastic, who's good support for me, because I'm worth it. You've got to be able to say the same thing. Yeah? Because you are worth it. And you've got a good friend in Melissa there.
Oh yeah, she's a good friend.
She is a good friend. Okay, well you look after yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as we keep saying in the show, you've got to go through a bit of pain first, haven't you? And then that's when you can't start seeing the sun peeping out from behind the clouds.
Hopefully.
Yeah, you will. Okay. All right, again, we're out of time. Take care, see you soon.
This is ITV. Well, last time they showed us Mingers.com. What have the web review team got in store for us this time?
On the web review this week, I'll be flying into the eye of a hurricane and returning to ground to look at some very expensive second-hand furniture.
And I'll be finding out where you can slap the face of an evil dictator and also how to prevent cruelty to animals by buying vegan chocolate.
Hello and welcome to the Web Review. As usual, we're going to take you on a journey through cyberspace in search of sites that aim to be useful, interesting or simply a bit of fun.
And to kick off today's show, I'm going to peer into the murky waters of the internet underworld, where a few big fish are making ripples that have a subtle but noticeable effect on the rest of the pond. One of those is Urban 75. Urban75.com is one of the most influential underground websites in the UK. It's an e-zine with attitude on everything from rave culture and eco-politics to drugs and football. There's some serious stuff on this site too, and it's all written in a no-nonsense style that at the same time isn't trying to be too youth. And the site doesn't take itself too seriously either. I mean, how many sites are there where you can find information about the next anti-capitalism protest alongside a game where you can slap the face of an evil dictator? In fact, it's the perfect site for the 21st century attention span. You can have a quick read about how the Criminal Justice Act affects football fans and then nip over and ask Psychic Ron about your team's next fixture. The site makes a point of having no advertising or banners, and when one of their ideas is in danger of becoming too commercialised, they pull it down, as anyone who mourns the now infamous Slap a Spice Girl game can testify. But if that's the type of thing you like, you can always punch William Hague instead. Now, I've been a fan of this site for quite some time now, but have you come across it before?
Now, this is definitely one of the best ones I've found of its kind. It's very well written, the content's very comprehensive, very wide range of content as well, and it seems to be written by people who seem to be quite intelligent, which is a nice relief.
Yeah, I mean, I come from a genetics background, and all the stuff they have about science and DNA and mapping the genome, it's all very well written and very well researched, which I think is very refreshing for this type of site, and the political stuff as well.
Well, there's a very broad range of content, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's the fun stuff, which is
the
the slapping
silly
the
games.
dictators, which is quite fun, which changes regularly, and then the stuff you were about to mention.
Yeah, it's got all the politics, and I think, you know, emailing your MP, it's got lots of very well researched information on it, and all the football stuff as well. I just feel it's a bit of a sad thing he's a Coventry supporter. But
Yeah, it is a bit.
never mind. I think it's a good lifestyle. It sort of embraces everything about the lifestyle, from, you know, the stupid games to also, you know, being very proactive in the politics.
So how many marks?
It's a very well thought out and totally cool 9 out of 10.
Now, next time you get caught in the rain without an umbrella, spare a thought for the brave men and women of the 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron, otherwise known as the Hurricane Hunters of the US Air Force Reserve. These are the semi-lunatics who fly huge, hulking Hercules aircraft into the eye of the most phenomenally brutal natural occurrence on planet Earth. And at hurricanehunters.com, they invite you to hitch a ride. According to the high flyers who've put this site together, getting accurate information about hurricane storms is essential for the weather experts to plan their direction and their strength. With hurricanes regularly laying waste to great swathes of the American East Coast, it's a loony job, but someone's got to do it. Well, here, they let you join them as they get 3 fixes on last year's Hurricane Opal. In a basic but very well put together cyber flight reconstruction, you're given a pre-flight briefing, a background on the hurricane itself, and then you're taken up into the storm and talked through the process stage by stage. And then it's hold on to your sick bag as you punch through the eye wall, the ring of super fast winds at the centre, and end up in the beguiling calm of the eye of the hurricane. There's background information, forums to post your questions, and stills and movie clips of what must be one of the most scary plane trips around. Not for the faint-hearted. Now, I was riveted by this site. It's not particularly technically astute, but the content's fantastic, and some of the photos are amazing, aren't they? I loved this site, actually. I thought the whole idea of it was brilliant. I mean, so scary, some of it, and you really do get a feel for what it must be like. I mean, the film clips are only really short, but and they do give a really good taste. You get the sound of the aeroplane, the sound of the storm, and I think it was fantastic. The photos are brilliant. And that step-by-step cyber flight, it's a nice demonstration that you don't need good technology to make a good website. It's just a link from a page to a page, but it draws you into the story. It really works. I mean, I went to the Farnborough Air Show this summer, and sort of my interest in planes has sort of been pricked up, and I love this. You can see all the different bits of the plane working, what all the different people do, and then you're actually in the storm, and it's incredible. Really good. Very brave people. Yes, very brave people. Very. You wouldn't pay me to do that job, but what do we give it then? I liked it. A lot of good content, nice simple design, looked a little bit ropey, so I'm going to give it a wild, wet and windy 7 out of 10. Now, if you live life to your very own musical soundtrack and like Robbie Williams as much as Rocket from the Crypt, then you should add Dot Music to your musical favourites. Dotmusic.com started life as the web presence of the music industry's weekly newspaper, Music Week. But over the years, it's transformed itself into an independent entity that's a much more interesting read and has a broader audience as a result. It covers the familiar major label releases and artists, but has a smattering of quality coverage of indie and dance music to keep most people happy. Future Hits has interviews of today's stars predicting the hits of tomorrow, and at last a reviews section that has audio clips of most of the artists featured. So you can read the review but also make up your own mind. And if there's a record you particularly like, you can go to the shop or search their archive for articles about the band. It's actually quite interesting to see what the press was saying about Blur in 1996. Oh, and for all the anoraks who are still interested in the charts, you can get the top 75 singles and albums emailed to you, as well as the indie, dance and rock charts. And you should be able to find Robbie Williams in at least one of those. So do you think this site is mainstream enough to go beyond sort of music industry enthusiasts? I hope so. I mean, I think the thing about sites like NME is that they're very good, but they're very cliquey and they're kind of an insider's guide. Yeah. I think this is a bit more welcoming, it's a bit more open, and also they do look at what is admittedly a huge swathe of the pop industry, which is like the boy bands and the girl bands. You can't ignore them if you're going to do any sort of analysis of the music industry. But it also has the indie charts, the dance charts, the folk charts. So I mean, for people that work in the industry, it's got everything they could possibly want to know. But also, I think for people dipping in, there's enough information for them as well. Absolutely, and it's quite nice. I like the charts, the fact that you can listen to clips of some of the songs in the charts. So if you don't know what that particular song is, you can listen to it and go, oh, yeah, I think that's rubbish. Oh, that's what I did in my case. I always miss out of what's sort of the latest thing that I was going, oh, that's that song, excellent. Because then you've been hearing on the radio all week. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I love the little video clips of people reviewing stuff as well. Sort of added sort of multimedia component I thought was really interesting. So how many marks then? It gets a pop-tastic 7 out of 10. OK, if you love the idea of buying antiques but can't stand the thought of traipsing around dingy antiques parlours which stink of mouldy books and beeswax, then antiques-atlas.com could come to your rescue.
Antiques Atlas is a location and stock-based antiques and collectibles website, which aims to provide a forum for anyone who's buying or selling antiques. Part of the problem of buying antiques, of course, is that it's not that easy to bubble wrap a mahogany Victorian display cabinet and stick it in the post, which is why the location seeking part of this site is so useful. Simply click on the map and you'll get a list of local collectors and antique shops in your area who have signed up for Auction Atlas. There's a reasonable array of dealers available if you live in the North West and the Midlands, but outside of these key areas, they're few and far between, even in London. If it's a specific item you're after, you can search by type of antique and to help with the transport issues. There's quite a good selection, but under specific categories such as architectural, you tend to find certain types of antiques supplied by only one dealer, which does limit your choices. Overall, the site's great if you're a northerner, thin on the ground if you live south of Weedon. Where's Lovejoy when you need him, eh? Lovely idea for a website, being able to find antiques. Was there anything on there that caught your fancy?
Well, I find antique shops a bit intimidating actually, because usually, you know, you have to ask for what things cost, and you know, it's usually far too much money. But I like this site because you could have a little look through, actually have a look at the prices, and I actually realised I knew more about antiques than I thought, because I love going to car boot sales and having a good old delve around. And it's actually, I suppose, I've been finding antiques there that I didn't know were antiques. So yeah, I liked it.
Hugh Scully, aren't you?
And you're a Lovejoy, have to be.
Thank you very much. I did think the location service was great. I mean, the problem is it's a bit thin on the ground really, because it's the Midlands, north of England at the moment.
Yeah, the
stuff
I looked for was in Manchester, which is a bit too far away.
There's not a single antiques dealer listed in Chelsea, so you know, that's obviously not very indicative of how many sites there are.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a great service. I did find the frames a little bit irritating though.
Yeah, there's quite a lot going on there. So all that taken into consideration, what are you going to give it?
Great idea, nice service. But it's a little bit fussy at the moment, so I'm going to knock it down to 6 out of 10 for insurance purposes only.
Now, if you're a bit of a veggie hippie like me, you might find it difficult to find environmentally friendly products or products that aren't tested on animals. Well, if that's the case, you should pay a visit to the cruelty-free shop. Crueltyfreeshop.com is an animal-friendly online superstore with cosmetics, toiletries and vegan chocolates. And when you get into the shop itself, there's actually much more on offer, from disinfectant and toothpaste to organic wine and even tampons. The site has a clean, uncluttered design, but I would have liked to have had more product information and maybe even reviews from other customers. The site actually made me feel incredibly guilty about some of the products I use at the moment, but I didn't see much that I fancied buying. You see, I've already been through my baggy t-shirt and army boots phase, so I'm afraid I wasn't too keen on their choice of ethical clothing and footwear. I was put off ordering the heavy washing powders and household cleaners because the delivery charge is based on weight, which would make them really expensive. However, the organic and vegan wine is on free delivery, and a mixed case of white works out at less than £5 a bottle, so I could be tempted yet. So Richard, do you buy any of these sorts of products?
Well, we think about it. My wife's quite sort of ethical about this kind of stuff. But the problem is that to get us to buy this kind of stuff, they've got to stop us from buying all the stuff we buy normally. And the thing I found with all the photographs on the site and the descriptions were they're just so bland and boring that there was nothing that was going to make me go, yes, I must have that product.
Yeah, it's not very tempting actually. Some of them are very worthy, but actually to tempt you away from what you normally have and what you're happy with, it needs a bit more oomph to it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I went and looked at the footwear sections to look at leather-free shoes. And there's some really nice looking shoes in there, but the photographs are very flat and uncolourful, and they're very perfunctory descriptions of the products. They really need to kind of crank it up a bit and say, right, these are fantastic shoes. They look good, they're stylish, all the things you'd expect from a normal sort of shopping internet site. But all of those things aside, was it preaching to the converted? What score are you going to give it?
Well, I'm going to give it a wholesome but uninspiring 6 out of 10.
Well, that's it for part 1. After the break, I'll be checking out a cockybastard.com while Catherine gets to put her mumsy hat on. Join us then.
Who are you two? Just a couple of good-looking M&Ms. Sit down.
M&Ms? But delicious milk chocolate inside?
Yeah.
Wow, isn't it great you guys dropped in?
Why is that?
Because, my little friend, I've just run out. Which one of you's peanut?
He is.
Itchy, flaky scalp? T-Gel clears dandruff so effectively, you voted it Best Dandruff Control Shampoo. T-Gel from Neutrogena.
Now, experience the true intensity of colour.
Introducing Herbal Essence's hair colour. Imagine colour this vibrant, this exhilarating. Shine so brilliant, so intoxicating. Unbelievable colour that lasts and lasts. Wanna try it?
Oh, yes.
New Herbal Essence's hair colour from Clairol. Experience the intensity.
Hello and welcome back to part 2 of the web review. Now there's nothing I like better when I'm surfing than a huge plate of chocolate biscuits and a cup of tea with 3 sugars in it. And if you're halfway that way inclined yourself, then you and I need to pay a visit to cyberdiet.com. According to cyberdiet.com, I ate all the pies. Not just any old pies of course, but really fatty ones with a high carbohydrate content. Yum yum. This site offers to tell you all you need to know about eating properly. You can start off by taking the various tests to find out how overweight or otherwise you are, and then you can progress onto diet and nutrition, exercise and fitness, sport and motivation, and a resource centre. There's plenty of information here to help you, but if, like me, you're a bit of a non-starter when it comes to diets, I'm not sure these are the people to get you going. For a start, the site looks like it's been put together using a word processor, which is all very well if the content thrills and inspires, but sadly, this one doesn't. It's all very efficient and well organised, but it's not motivational in the slightest. And it takes one hell of a lot of motivation to get me to stick to a diet, believe me, and I don't think I'm particularly unrepresentative of us borderline fatties. It's high on informational polyunsaturates, but about as tasty as a dry piece of crisp bread. First of all, what did we like about the site?
Well, I think for people who go on diets, and there are, a lot of people in this country are on diets all the time. If you're one of those sorts of people, there's lots of different ideas for diets. There's lots of recipes. There's calorie counters, meal planners, and they do go through all your personal profiles, so you can fill in how much you need to lose and your body mass and all that sort of thing.
So for people who've bought into the diet concept, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think if you bought into the whole diet idea, then this is a very good guide for you. Unfortunately, I do have a personal problem with the whole diet concept. I think actually following calories and all those sort of makes people obsessive about food, and what they really need to be doing is not thinking about food and going out and being healthy and exercising.
Yeah, and also my problem with it is the motivational side. For someone like myself, and I don't think I'm a representative really of chaps my age and of a certain build, we need a lot of help to get on these diets, and I just didn't think that there was that kind of fun, motivational side to the site.
Okay, so what are you going to give it then?
Well, I'm going to give it a rather overfed and chubby round the waist 4 out of 10.
Now, as time goes by, you may have found yourself humming the tune to Bar Bar Black Sheep instead of the latest Blue Tone single. Well, if that's the case, then like me, you're a parent, and there's loads of stuff about us at allaboutparents.com. When you have children of your own, a few things change forever. 6 AM is a waking up time, not a going to bed time, and you have an overwhelming desire to share tips and experiences with other parents. All About Parents may not be able to give you a lion, but it does offer a friendly face, a sympathetic ear, and some funny and interesting writing. There are channels on all aspects of parenting, from pregnancy and birth through to school days. I loved the column by Nigel Planer and Frankie Park about their family life. All of the articles are written by parents and experts in a helpful and friendly style that never preaches or patronises, as so many baby books tend to do. The site takes a lot of its articles from the Daily Express, but there are items and services unique to the site. You can email the resident GP, psychiatrist or breastfeeding counsellor with any problems, and they've paired up with a few selected partners to take the stress out of shopping with children by shopping online. I'm still looking for advice about that lion though. So Richard, how many kids have you got?
I've got 3 from ages 2 up to 11, and from my experience, having looked at this site, I think the information's very good. It's very practical. The tone's good as well. There's no sort of patronising and condescending to parents on there, and also it's got a nice variety of information.
Yeah, I thought it was a good balance between being, informative, and you actually come away going, I've learnt something that's going to be useful in my life, but also it's good fun. And I think they did have a slight missed opportunity to create a bit more of a community here, because I thought the tone of it was so nice and so friendly that I actually want to go back and maybe chat to other parents on the site, share some views and experiences. So I think
maybe they'll listen to you and they'll put one up there.
Maybe they will.
No, I liked it. And also the thing is, no one admits that they're a bad parent, and no one likes to admit that they need help. So this is a great way for people to go on very sneakily on the sly, get some useful information.
Get some decent advice.
Absolutely, that might help them get through the trials of parenthood. Anyway, what are you going to give it?
Well, I thought it's a slight missed opportunity on the chat and community side, but a really, really good site, so 8 out of 10.
Well, here's a question. What is the purpose of a homepage? Is it something dedicated to you, or perhaps dedicated to your hobbies? Well, what if your hobby is you? And what if your homepage was a shrine to everything that's lovely about you and your perfect life? An interesting approach, surely, but one that might leave you open to accusations of being a cocky bastard. At cockybastard.com we can meet John Halcyon Stinn, a 29-year-old San Diego net nutter who is so completely in love with himself he makes Narcissus look like a bloke with a self-image problem. Boy, does this man adore himself. Of course, he's called his website Cocky Bastard, so that's supposed to make it all right, but he really is quite phenomenally self-absorbed. He's a good-looking lad, and yes, girls, he's got a cute butt to go with it, but I'm not entirely sure that that legitimises this exercise in self-aggrandisement. On his philosophy page, he enthuses about some kind of positive world energy, which we shouldn't disrupt with negative thoughts, presumably to stop us from thinking he's a wally. We can share his profound observations on the world, similarly introspective of course. All I know is that as the fireworks echo outside my window, I am alone. His own works of art, which are not too bad as it happens, listen to music he makes, and read his invitation to send in nude pictures of yourself so he can masturbate over them. It's a beautifully constructed homepage, stuffed full of the inane thoughts of a shallow man who quite clearly has no interest in anything but himself. Cocky bastard? Too right, mate. That's the only sensible thing you've said all day. Now, I'm giving him a hard time because he is evidently a cocky bastard, and an irritatingly cocky bastard as well. But having said that, the site is beautifully made, isn't it?
It's fantastic. I love this man. I want him to come to all of my parties. He's the sort of bloke that, you know, he's a bit English person in me, you know, finds him a bit irritating, but the other side of me just loves him, and I love this sort of barefaced cheek. He's got his tongue firmly in his own cheek, and why not? You know, he's being a bit ironic. He's being very honest about himself, and why not love himself and celebrate himself? It's a joy. It's a breath of fresh air.
I see, the English in me just makes me shudder. I just cringe at that whole kind of self-promotion. It rankles deeply.
But the site's funny. You've got to admit it's funny. You know, the bit where you click on him and he goes, oh, it's just great.
And also when he invites people to send in their photographs. There's a little side of his character that's the dark side.
And the other side of his character, you know, that he used to counsel children with psychological problems. So he is an all-rounded person. So what are we going to give him?
Well, I found him intensely irritating, but the site is beautifully made, so I'm going to have to give him a not-so-cocky bastard 7 out of 10.
Now, if your taste in cinema is a mixture of European art house and Hollywood blockbuster, you'll find everything you want to know about all the films you love at allmovie.com. Allmovie.com has no barriers between American or European, art or mainstream films because it covers them all. The site is very simple in design but has loads of information about all of the films you've ever heard about or seen. It's got the usual new releases with brief plot lines, cast lists and users' comments, but the site really excels when you start to go into movie history. It's got features on films and directors and has essays on all the major cinematic themes and genres, from film noir to spaghetti westerns. This site should be required reading for film and media students as it could seriously help with their research. And if you have times when you just can't think of the title of a film or a character's name, then the search engine promises great things. You can search by plotline, character name, film type or actors. Unfortunately though, it didn't seem to work particularly well. But when you do finally get to the information, it's very well written and very thorough, with links to more information than you could possibly digest in one sitting. Basically, if you love film, you'll love this site. So, Richard, did you manage to get a result from that search engine?
That search engine's a bit patchy, to be honest. It came up with things once and then again, not the second time when I put in the same criteria. A bit ropey, that. But what I really liked about it was the hyperlink. So you get a film up and there's a hyperlink about all the actors and the writers. Then you can just leap from film to film to film. And what I especially liked was in the categories, it would say something like comedy. You click on comedy and then it says, a comedy is a film whose primary purpose is to make you laugh. There's all these definitions, but I quite liked it. It's a bit of an anorak site, I think.
I think it's really, really good on the history side of it. I found out loads about all the different genres that I didn't know and about loads of the old films. I didn't think it was so good on the new releases, though. It didn't seem to be that up to date with some of them. And the search engine, my favourite film, Breakfast at Tiffany's, put in the character name, couldn't find it at all. So.
No, I think it's got a real focus on, we seem to like westerns, a lot of the 1940s and 50s films as well. But that aside, how many points are we going to give it?
Well, I think it's a good site, great for all the history, so it gets an Oscar-nominating 7 out of 10.
They do say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but I'm afraid if you find any beauty on the site we're about to show you, then your beholding gland needs replacing, because my favourite today is Mingers.com, a site dedicated to photographs of truly ugly people. Cruel as it may be, we all know a Minger or two, and here you'll find photos of some truly facially challenged individuals. It's heartless, it's mean, it's vicious, but then it's awfully, toe-curlingly, breathtakingly funny. So next time you're having a bad hair day, spare a thought for those poor people who are having a bad face life.
Now, if you don't sit in front of a screen for long enough at work, maybe you want to spend all of your leisure time fiddling with knobs and staring at a screen while you play computer games. Well, my pick of the week is for those of you who embrace this lifestyle, and it's the imaginatively titled giantdoughnut.co.uk, which was sent in by John Warwick. It has all the latest news, reviews and shopping links to the latest games from the biggest names. The reviews are frank and honest, with screenshots from the game, so you can actually see what they're talking about. What it doesn't mention is that it's called Giant Doughnut, maybe because that's what you'll end up with around your middle if you sit around playing these games all the time.
Well, that's about all we've got time for today, but if you'd like to find out more information about the sites we've looked at in the show, then why don't you go to our website, and you'll find that at www.thewebreview.com.
And please do keep those emails coming in with website suggestions. We really do look at them. The address is mail@thewebreview.com. Join us again next week for another journey around the World Wide Web. But until then, happy surfing.
Bye.
Good morning, this is ITV. Now, Jenny McCarthy has some halls to deck.
It's so hot out there.
I know. I love LA, but it's hard to get in the Christmas spirit when you see a sidewalk Santa collapse from heat stroke.
Yeah, he sure didn't look jolly being wheeled away with that saline IV drip.
Thank God we are spending the holidays in Utica, where the Santas collapse from hypothermia like a Santa should.
Hey, what's all that stuff?
Guy Hathaway's Christmas decorations? Yeah, you know, he really loved this time of year. Always did it up right.